This Choircast podcast is brought to you by Epilogue, a novel by Katie McCrite. Cassie Trowbridge, raised in poverty and isolation, faces a resurgent threat she must defeat. Without her caretakers, she now confronts a troubling future. In a blend of suspense, romance, and the supernatural, Epilogue takes you on a thrilling journey through the unknown. Available now on Amazon.
Western Christianity has spent the last 2,000 years telling everyone they're separated from God.
This is Not Church with John and Nat Turney and Bethany Shea.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Nat, and I don't know why I just decided to affect that particular mangling of an accent. It wasn't even a good one. It was an unrecognizable sort of European, hello, hello, g'day. Like, oh, now I'm Australian. What the fuck am I? Okay, anyway. Hey, I do that to give our guest permission to say whatever the fuck he needs to say over the next hour. So I like to, that's just considered an invitation to profanity. We don't take ourselves too seriously. But welcome to the podcast, everyone. My name is Nat. I'm here with my brother, John. Say hi, John.
Hi, John.
And we always is off to a good start. So in the center square of the Hollywood squares here, Bethany, you're too young to have remembered the Hollywood squares.
I am.
Who was always in the center square? Was that Paul Lynn?
Paul Lynn
on TV. Paul Lynn was the best. We never appreciated Paul Lynn.
I think Kelly Clarkson is the center square right now. I don't know.
Is it still happening? See, that's how what a touch I am.
Yes.
Holy crap! That's either great or terrible. I haven't decided which. But in the center square, our own version of Paul Lynn, we have Bethany Shea. Welcome to the podcast, Bethany. Say hi.
Hi, everybody. That was amazing. I feel so welcomed by whatever it is that you guys are talking about. Apparently, I'm too young to understand Hollywood Square, but I don't know. When did that come out? Because I was homeschooled, so I didn't have any television.
You're homeschooled.
The version that I'm speaking of would have been like 70s, late 70s.
Okay.
There was Paul Lynn. Who was the short guy? Oh, gosh. Always wore a vest.
I know who you're talking about, but I can't think of his name.
That I found out much later in life was actually a very accomplished musician.
Yeah.
I mean...
I know who you're talking about, but I can't.
And he's so pissed off because he's only known for writing he wrote the theme song to Love Boat.
I remember that show.
The thing he's the least proud of. It's like, I remember all this great work I did, but the Love Boat, never forget that. Anyway, yeah, Paul, everybody, and the rest were like, anyway, Paul Lynn was, if you haven't, he was just this amazing, flamboyant, really, really entertaining, funny guy. But so much double entendre and innuendo in that show. It just, as a kid, it was just like, flew over my head. And later I'm like, how'd they get away with that? He really wasn't that subtle. It was pretty good. But as always, guys, we have a great guest on the podcast. This is not church, by the way. That's what we call this podcast, because if it was church, you would have left by now. You might have left at the first drop of an F-bomb. Now,
Probably.
Me, if I walked into a church and the pastor said something like, "What up, motherfuckers?" I'd be like, I found home.
Praise Jesus.
Like, I would hunker down and find out what's happening. But most people would be like, out. But we have a great guest, so let's introduce him to you, and let's get on with the better part of the podcast, which is him talking and us listening. So we have with us today Jeremy Steele, who is a pastor and a writer who also sucks as a Christian. I resonate, sir. Jeremy helps people find spiritual beliefs that help them be the best version of themselves and help them find a purpose greater than themselves. His progressive and engaging approach to spirituality has attracted a loyal following of over 100,000 on social media and a thriving community of members in the Discord group affectionately dubbed Not Church. Hey, by the way, we can relate.
Yeah, okay. The way that whole name came about is that we had this community of people, and they were like, we were talking about what this thing is, and they're like, it's like church. Like, we're talking about spiritual beliefs, and like, we're here for each other. It's all the things like we wanted from church, but nobody's telling us we're going to hell because we own a tarot deck. And they're like, it's like not church. And we're like, no, it's not church.
Yeah, that was really our thought process behind. It's a couple layers for us, and one is, our dissatisfaction and our disillusionment with church as a thing.
Yeah,
but also our logo is a picture of a church, and like, this is not church.
Right.
So I affirm, and I think John and Bethany would agree, although Bethany is a pastor still, and God bless her, she's doing the Lord's work. But I affirm the concept of church in the broadest sense. The ecclesia, I love the idea of community. I just have long since decided it can be found elsewhere.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be. And that's kind of our thing, and that's the point behind our podcast, is we want to talk to people who are either doing church differently, who have maybe given up on church but haven't given up on people. So that's one thing we won't do. And matter of fact, part of what drove me out of the institutional church was my inability to not care about everybody. I had to get past the tribalism and so I had to go find what I could do for my LGBTQ friends and family and those that the church was injuring and leaving behind. So I assume that you would maybe echo some of those, but also don't want to forget to mention your podcast.
All of those. Oh, yeah, go ahead. My podcast. Go ahead.
Unbelief,
plug away.
Which I'm sure is available wherever fine podcasts are given away for free.
And also the places where you can find this podcast.
Yes, and absolutely same place. And also don't want to forget to mention that you have a book that is out, I guess.
Yes.
It's been released. It's called How to Not Suck as a Christian.
How to Not Suck.
It has been out. And you're currently on tour. Talk about that real quick. Let's change things up. Talk about the book tour, man. How's it going?
It's going great. I've been all over Atlanta, St. Pete, Saratoga, California. I'm in Phoenix right now. And one of the things that I'm doing on this tour is I'm raising awareness about the Trevor Project. I'm splitting my royalties with the book with the Trevor Project. And, they offer free counseling to LGBTQ teens or young people. They've got this 24-hour manned hotline online that they can just log on, and they literally save lives every single fucking day. And it's the lives of the kids that the church has caused to try to kill themselves.
Gosh, that's just, first of all, I'm glad they're there, but I'm heartbroken that they're necessary.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't understand. If there is a religious belief that causes children to commit suicide, can you just not fucking have that belief?
Yeah.
Amen.
It just seems like a low bar.
Yeah. That's a low bar.
Yeah.
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 I mean, anything you want, except for the thing that makes children die. That one, let's just not have that one, or just put it on pause.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, especially,
sorry, I'm cussing up a storm. We're 2 seconds into
that's
this
all right.
podcast.
Well, there are things that I think rightfully stir us up.
Yeah.
And things that rightfully make us angry. And I'm especially pissed off at the hypocrisy of my family of believers who ostensibly believe and profess that God is love, and yet they don't give a shit. They really don't. I've seen some of those hateful, dismissive, apathetic attitudes from people in church about gay and trans youth in particular. The trans folks really get it, I think, the worst. And they have my heart at the moment, just because I know there's legislation coming down the pike. They're going to be the tip of the spear for what?
Right, I have some really wonderful trans friends, and they are terrified.
Yeah.
I live in the DC area, and part of the queer community there, and we have this. One of my trans friends texted me, and we were going to go hang out with a couple of other friends, and they're like, "I'm just not going to places right now. I'm letting people come to my house. I'm going to their house, but I'm not going out anymore." And that, oh my God. Yeah,
breaks your heart.
I don't even know
what the fuck is going on.
I have a woman who just reached out to me today about her son who's transitioning, and she's a conservative woman in this area that that's very known for how conservative she is, and yet she's like, I need my child to still have a beloved community. Will your church receive them? And it was just the most beautiful picture of her trying to advocate for her kid, knowing that she's still so engrossed in the original way of thinking in many ways, or the typical way of Christian thinking, I should say. And she's still like trying to figure out a way forward. And it's, even though it's the smallest step, it just shows that she loves her kid and she's doing whatever she can to make sure her kid still experiences community in the ways that this kid can. But yeah, it's everywhere. Like just this sense of like, trans people feel so scared, rightfully so. And so I love what you're doing with the Trevor Project.
Right. No,
yeah,
it's not unjustified. And just anybody who's listening to the podcast, here's just a little data that you can use when you're arguing at the Thanksgiving table. When a kid comes out to their parents, it's a 15% chance, no matter what, that they're going to try to kill themselves. And if their parents reject them, this is like this religious rejection, it doubles. Doubles. Not okay.
This is a church that screams from the pulpit that they're pro-life, right? Mm-hmm. And we all know that they're not pro-life; they're pro-birth. And that's all they mean, because they do not care one bit about the LGBTQI plus community,
or immigrants, or people of color, or
people. Yeah, I mean, we could just go on and on and on.
Well, and the thing is that I would go a step beyond and say they're not pro-birth even. They're pro-control.
Yeah.
And the idea that any human being would have complete autonomy over their own selves is an anathema to them. And I don't know why, but this idea of power and control, of being able to either control the narrative, being able to control the culture, whatever it is you think you're losing, they're fighting tooth and nail to hold on to a myth of American greatness.
Well, and I don't even think that, to be honest, living in DC, like, it is just a tool for them to structure power. And, when you look at like how this came about and the Christian right, that sort of emergence that happens,
for sure,
they found an issue that would scare people enough to just make them give them the power. And it's wild, because when you talk to the people who work for these representatives and senators, and you sort of like say, hey, on the DL, like, they really believe all that shit? Like, nah. No, it just keeps them in office, right? Wow. And they don't care. What they want is power. And that's not, of course, not everybody. I'm sure there are some genuinely bigoted people. But I think that a lot of it is like, if people stopped voting on that issue for them, it would immediately disappear from the platform.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things, honestly, that frightened me the most about Roe v. Wade being overturned, is that at least on some level, this is no longer a front burner issue for them. That they're still working like hell on it, obviously. But who's going to be the next target? Go ahead.
Well, the other thing is, like, the Roe v. Wade being overturned, it's really a fascinating sort of, sociological thing to look at, because, you had this massive machine that had been built up to educate people on Roe v. Wade and try to get out the vote against all of that, right? And it was the stated purpose of all of these organizations.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Then when they did it, when they accomplished it, they did not fold. They did not give the money to somewhere. No, they moved on to the next further. Like, now we're going to talk about mifepristone. Right? Now we're going to criminalize birth control, right? Now we're going to, like, all of this stuff, which it just makes it plain. It wasn't about Roe v. Wade.
No, of course not.
It was about power.
Yeah.
About money.
And you have to have a hot button issue. You have to have something that genuinely scares people.
So now we're going to manufacture the next one.
Exactly. Exactly right. They're Inigo Montoya in The Princess Bride with, I've spent my whole life, seeking revenge. I don't know what to do with myself now. Only they found their next target really quickly. And and again, reminiscent of the old cliched saying, when they came for these people, I didn't speak up because I wasn't one of those people. And when they came, it's cliche, but it's very fucking true. Like, if you don't think they're coming for you next, whatever it is that you embody that falls outside the norm, we'll be on the chopping block next. And it scares the hell out of me because, again, I still, and I've said this a few times, I've spoken to trans people on the podcast, and it still seems like trans people are one of the last legitimate people or boogeymen that we can attack, boogie people we can attack. And there's just so much disinformation. There's so much confusion around the topic. There's so much bad science being talked about. There's so much science denial going on. It's much easier just to go, well, they're all just weird and they do this. And now we can other all of them. John and I had the same experience. I will tell you this. I know we talked about it at length a couple years ago when we started beginning to have people on the podcast, and we're like, we just don't know enough. But my response was, well, let's find out. Like, let's do better. Let's figure out, and every single person we've had on the podcast, I whether they wanted to or not, became at least short-term teachers for us. I'm like, hey, I know it's not your responsibility to educate me on this, but I genuinely want to know more about this issue. I want to do better, and how can I be a better advocate and ally? So the Trevor Project is something that obviously you're passionate about. Yeah, I would imagine that they are busier than ever. Is that holding up? They don't share their statistics with me, but I can't even imagine. I am sure it is just, man, it's hard. It's really, really hard. And the thing that just pisses me off over and over again is the co-opting of a religious tradition that I grew up in to support hate. I just same. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about that on the podcast. Is like when we were younger, this is the stuff they were telling us that Jesus was opposed to. The Jesus I grew up being told about loved the marginalized. Right. Yeah. And all of a sudden, the quote unquote the same Jesus now hates everyone that I was told I was supposed to love. Mm-hmm. And I just don't understand. Well, and you and I had the fortune/misfortune maybe of growing up, at least in the 70s, when the church really didn't have a ton of the power they have now, because that's a fabrication of the 80s, religious right. So we grew up, and it's easy to speak about loving the marginalized from a position of not influence, from a position of not having a ton of power, and then seeing yourselves as an outsider somewhat. The hippie, Jesus movement of the 70s became, sadly, those people grew up and became the Jerry Falwells of the world. But all of a sudden, once you have that and you've slowly allied yourself with empire over the course of decades and decades, that has to be an aphrodisiac of sort that says, well, we've been on the outside and we've been on the inside. Being on the inside's better. At least we can drive God's agenda, quote unquote. Well, and that's like basically the book of Revelation. And it's why that book was, people pushed back for a long time, it being included in the canon, because, Revelation it's not about the future, right? It's like, it's interesting because like in this moment, right, there's this moment of a real persecution for Christianity. Because let's just be clear, Christians aren't persecuted in America. No, not even close. They are the persecutors. Yeah, but so Christians are legit being persecuted, and there's this like real problem of, okay, so how does this work? God is supposed to be on our side, and like this doesn't make sense. And one of my favorite scholars, his name is Dan McClellan. He says that it's like a revenge fantasy. And, the book of Revelation, when you understand it in its context, it basically says, hey, all the power and the way that was wielded against you, you get to do it now. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's, which is in direct opposition to the teachings of Jesus. It's like the opposite. And so that's why for a long time, people were like, you know what? Like, this doesn't match. Like, this doesn't match Jesus. We shouldn't be trying to get the same power that
that they have against us, right? We need to be dismantling that power structure and finding something different. And then, of course, when Christianity became a state religion, you could see that it was useful for also structuring power, and it got shoehorned in there. But yeah, it's exactly that, right?
Yeah, it's maddening and it's frustrating. I don't know if the church will ever get it. The mass exodus of people like me and John and a lot of people way younger than us from institutional church sets off alarm bells, but they come to the wrong conclusions. They just assume that we all just want to go out and do our own thing, and then you never turn that thing. I've had many conversations with my old pastor when I was still on staff, and I'm like, they're leaving our church, and why? And rather than say, okay, what are we doing? It was always, people just don't like structure anymore. They don't want to be told what to do anymore. And they just want to go out and sin and not be held accountable. And
I'm
like,
no,
dude,
that's not it.
Seriously? They're sitting inside your church right now. It's no problem.
Right. I was talking to a group of pastors a couple of months ago. And so it's just been this insane thing that's happened to me over the last year and a half, going from 0 to 150,000 followers and having people dox me and, my privacy violated in lots of different ways. But this community that's sort of emerged out of this, it's all these people that generally the conversation starts, hey, I'm never going to go to church, so don't try. Please don't try to do that. But I have this question or have this need. And some people will be like, but I need a pastor, so you're it. You're welcome. Congratulations. And so I was talking to this group of pastors. So basically all of these people are people that used to go to church and no longer do, or people that have been hurt by the church even though they didn't go. And the trauma is to the point that you can't do the Jesus thing, right? We're not going to be singing Chris Tomlin songs. We're not the blood of that whole thing. We can't do that, right?
Yeah.
The way communion is structured for a lot of people, they can't do it at all. And I was talking to this group of pastors and just saying look, this is what happened. They were traumatized by the church. They now cannot do that. And it's your fault. And so we sort of have this choice. I don't, if the church, pastors, Christians, whatever, traumatize people so much that they can't do Jesus, they can't hear the thing, they can't hear the blood, they can't do that. And they reach out to God by drawing a circle on the ground, or by using tarot cards, or engaging in, meditation practices from other faiths. I think God could give a fuck about which way they're trying to connect with God, because if God exists, and who the hell knows if God exists, but if God exists, I can't imagine a God. Well, I could say I can't believe in a God that, after somebody's traumatized like that, would reject their attempts to connect with them.
God has to be bigger than Christianity. It has to be.
Yeah, totally. Those connection points that you have created for people, or at least affirmed for people, where do you find your own connection points? What does that mean for you? And are you
what
still
do you mean
a pastor?
by connection points?
Connection points to God. People are seeking God outside of the church because the church has caused such harm in their lives, and they have certain traumas from that. And so within the platform that you now have as an influencer, for lack of a better word.
You're not wrong. Yeah.
People are seeking out your guidance here and there, and you are able to affirm their seeking of God in different forms that maybe you wouldn't have affirmed. I'm assuming maybe you wouldn't have affirmed 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I'm not sure. I don't know your spiritual upbringing or anything.
No, I was brainwashed by evangelical Christianity for a large amount of my life. Yeah.
So I guess my question is, like, what does it look like for you to seek spiritual spaces of growth in your own life, or what does that even look like to you for now?
Actually, I just interviewed this guy for my podcast, unbelievepodcast.com. And he was he's a young adult. He was a deacon in the Southern Baptist Church in a Reformed tradition. He fully came out to himself as queer. And then there's literally a group. It sounds like crazy conspiracy theory. A group that is looking for queer Southern Baptist pastors to out them to their congregations. They found him. It's a whole story that he tells. It's not exactly my story to tell, but I asked him, I said, what works for you right now spiritually? Like might not work tomorrow, might not have worked yesterday, but what works? And he said questions.
Like asking questions, or?
Yeah, having questions.
That's good. Finding
new questions, asking questions of other people. And I've asked people that question, the question about what works for them a bunch in my life. And it's the first time anybody's ever said that. And I resonated with it so deeply because I think, I'd say I'm a deep skeptic and also a pastor. And I think that when I get down to a place where I just can't find connection or transcendence, I think that's it too. I mean, that's maybe the biggest piece. It's the questions that keep me engaged.
What's a question that has been mulling around your head recently?
I think one of the questions that I'm having right now is, what does it really mean to have and experience infinity? And yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that. Mathematically, infinity is a problem. When they do, all these physics equations, when it results in an infinity, it's nonsense. And yet in the religious world, when scientists are using the science tools to investigate reality, infinity is a problem. But when religious people are using religious tools to investigate reality, infinity feels like almost a starting point. And so there's part of me that, I don't know, there's a deep part of me that I think maybe I would say that when I experience the divine, transcendence, God, however you want to phrase it, I think maybe the best word for it is experiencing infinity in whatever form it's presenting itself at that moment, something so far beyond my existence and my reality that, so yeah, that's the question.
That's one that as a kid would kept me up at night.
Yeah. Right.
Just trying to kind of wrap your head around forever. What does forever mean? Mm-hmm. And of course I was told at a very young age that my forever could be very, very bad.
Yeah.
Or very, very blissful. But, but I obviously, as kind of focused on what does very, very bad feel like? How long is, how long till I get used to that? And,
there's this meditation practice called awareness meditation that focuses on something Buddhists call samadhi. And it's really fascinating because you start sort of in the typical meditative state of deep breathing, centering, that kind of stuff. And then you, with your sort of not looking around, but you make yourself aware of what's sort of within a 1 foot radius of you. And then you make yourself aware of what's in a 5 foot radius of you. And you sort of keep expanding your awareness to sort of, the idea is like you're trying to be aware of all of that volume, right? And it's expanding until you sort of reach the fullness of whatever space that you're in. And then while holding the awareness of all of that space, sort of sinking into yourself in a typical meditative state. And the idea is that this awareness that you have will now then pull you out of yourself into sort of this awareness of infinity, where in some ways you're holding all of it then, and are all of it at the same time. And yeah, I think there's something really, really powerful there.
Well, it makes sense with like the fact that our atoms are always being shared with everything in all spaces around us and around the world at once. I mean, it's almost like the sense of oneness with wherever you're at, but we just don't make space to become aware of that, to actually sink into that time and space that it is. That's really good. Yeah. I love that.
There's this book that came out, I think it was last year. It's called The Awakened Brain. It's by a PhD super smarty pants named Dr. Lisa Miller, and she's at Columbia, and it's a bunch of research that was done by Columbia and Yale on spirituality, and this, it was all this. It's like, what's going on in the brain, the spiritual experience, what effect does it have on people's life and psyche, and all of this. Fascinating book. Ends up, there's a correlation that represents a protective for people who are, there's a specific definition, but for spirituality, but people who have these like spiritual beliefs and practices against the recurrence of major depressive disorder. Because what's interesting is the part of the brain that's activated when people have a deep spiritual experience is the same part of the brain that's activated with SSRIs. And, and so it's just really interesting research. But one of the things she talked about in there, completely out of her field, but she talked about in quantum physics, it's the idea of quantum entanglement. So some particles are spinning, and I'm going to fuck this up. So like find a scientist to get the exact thing. But they're spinning, and it's called, they'll have an up spin or a down spin. But these two particles are entangled in such a way that if you flip the spin of one of them from up to down, then the one that was down will immediately at the exact same time flip up. Yeah. And they can be on other sides of the globe, and it happens instantaneously because they're entangled, but they're entangled in a way that like defies space. And one of the things that she talks about in there is like, I mean, she's just sort of like waxing philosophic, right? But like maybe like everything's made of particles, right? All the atoms are made up of the particles, right? So maybe that's this connection between people, right? Like when your best friend, is in pain and you just sort of know it and you call them, right? And like you knew, I mean, you just knew, you called them. And, you know, particles don't cease to exist, right? And so like that moment when you really sense like the presence of one of your ancestors, like my dad died and I was in a really hard time, and he played the guitar, and I inherited his guitar. And I was in my basement. It was hard. It was awful. Things were just coming apart. And all of a sudden, the guitar case fell over. And the guitar inside made this sound. The guitar sound. And that tone is like he played it my whole life. So I know it in my soul. Yeah. And so like the idea is like, what if that was my dad? What if the particles that were him, you know what I'm saying, are present with me? Anyway, this is so interesting to me, like you were saying, it being bigger than Christianity or whatever, but the idea of like this interconnectedness of everything, the infinities, all of this stuff. I lived in Northern California for a while. I'm allowed to talk like that. So
you're talking to actually 3 Northern Californians right here.
Great.
So, but no, I've been on a bit of a journey, and part of my journey has been coming to realize how much of my education suffered because of my evangelical upbringing, things I was not really encouraged to pursue or study or understand or know. So science.
Yeah, for sure.
What do we need science for? God made the world in 6 days. Boom, done. Move the fuck on.
And like, I grew up in that before the internet.
Yeah.
Right. So
me too.
I am a deeply skeptical person. I always have been. And I asked the questions. And they gave me creation science with people who had doctor in their name. And like, I didn't know any better. How would I know? I didn't know any progressive people. I was living in the Alabama part of Florida.
That's right. we were living in the boonies of Northern California amongst the hippies, and they didn't really care that much either. I don't know. So now in my 50s, I'm going, well, what is this?
Man, you're old.
I know. No shit, right?
Good Lord.
I don't look a day over 55, but I'm younger than that. But I'm now learning, and thank God for stuff like YouTube, and there are people and content creators who are really smart, legitimate PhDs.
Right.
And not, they didn't get their degree from,
Liberty University.
Exactly. but I found the story of, because we always dismissed as comical the Big Bang. Well, just everything just came from nothing. Blah, blah, blah. Like, obviously you haven't never studied this because that's not what anybody says ever. And now I'm thinking it's one of the most beautiful concepts in the universe. It is the blueprint for how interconnected we all are. It is absolutely, especially when you get into the quantum side of it, you get into even just the Newtonian, laws of physics and motion, and like what you just said about particles not ceasing to exist. They can't. It's a law. There's the same amount of matter in the universe today as entropy, right? As there was before, there will be tomorrow. And so, I don't know. I remember going to a Rob Bell thing years ago, and him doing his big long his big long whiteboard thing of
that's everything is spiritual.
Yeah, I think
I'm a super fan.
Well, I'm a huge Rob Bell super fan.
But I'm saying the long white one is the everything is spiritual. Yeah. I'm such a nerd.
I've seen him 4 times at least on every book tour. If he comes anywhere near where I live, I'm like, we're going. So I saw him and Peter Rollins together when they did the tour together. Rollins. Wow, and he's a bomb. But there was this moment in that place that planted these seeds of, okay, this is the story of the interconnectedness of everything in the universe, because we're all made of the same matter. We're all part of the same stuff, and call that stuff God if you want. Fine. But call the universe, I don't know. But that's a much more compelling story to me than some all-powerful, omnipotent being standing outside of space and time, whatever the hell that means, and going, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be, and then turning us all loose to just figure it the fuck out for ourselves.
Right. Yeah, I was talking to this guy, interviewing this guy. He's an astrophysicist, and we were talking about Newtonian physics and quantum physics or string theory. Well, they're different things, but whatever. But how they disagree with each other, but not fully.
Right.
And he had this idea. He talked about it. It's like these two these two bridges are being built from these opposite shores, and they come and they like meet in the middle, but not quite.
Right.
Like they're just a little bit off.
Yeah.
And it was this metaphor, because he also is a spiritual person. And he said it's this metaphor for religions, right? Like they meet, there's so much in common, but not all of it.
Yeah, for sure.
And but there's this like, which I think is really helpful. It's like, one of the things in my book, it says that like you're probably wrong, right? You're definitely wrong about at least half of the things. We just don't know which half, right? And it just, I feel like that whole idea just gives some permission to be like, oh no, yeah. I mean, like, who knows? Maybe they're right. I don't know. But I've been trained in this one stream, so I say I'm a practitioner of Christianity.
Well, that was a real starting point for me. It was the coming to a really, really startling revelation that I didn't know much, actually.
Right. But as I think you said ally. So as a straight white man, that's a pretty big moment for you. A lot of straight white men never actually get to the moment where they realize that they might not know, that they might be wrong about anything at all.
Yeah. And I started to couch everything that I ever, so I just abandoned certainty one day. No problem. That shit's gone. It was a myth. It never existed anyway. It was always just imaginary. Fine. And then I began this practice of starting everything I would ever say with, I could be wrong, but I think it's this.
Yeah. Sure.
And it's just, not to be the, to do a humble brag. It's just humility. It's just this idea. I mean, and if you or I as believers on whatever level we are of a God who is massive and infinite and whatever, and all these other words, it's the height of arrogance to think we have any of it figured out, let alone all of it figured out. And the people that offend me the most anymore, besides, the bigots and the assholes, are I get triggered by certainty. I get triggered by people who are so cocksure and they just know that they know that they know, and they're right and everyone else is wrong. And man, I just shut down. I'm like, you know what? I can't listen to a word you have to say at this point because there's no humility in you at all.
Well, and there's no way to have conversation, right?
Well, yeah. They're not, and those people aren't asking genuine questions. When they come to you with a question, it's always loaded. There's always an agenda behind the question. They are the Pharisees walking up to Jesus going, "Oh, teacher of the law, why don't you tell me?"
Yeah, I'll do these live streams and it's insane. But I'll do these live streams, we'll do Q&A, and there'll always be somebody people are putting the questions. Listen, I answer if I have any answer. Sure. I say I don't know, whatever, and then they'll be like, "Do you believe in the gospel?" And I'm like, I hear you, and I just think that you probably mean something different by that word than I mean.
Yeah.
Because when I grew up in evangelical Christianity, that was you say these 4 magic sentences and then you get to go to heaven.
Yeah.
And then, I don't believe in that. That's bullshit. But I think that's a pretty small, that's just a pretty small definition.
For sure.
Right?
Well, and people want to know, they want to know if you believe what they believe, so that way they can make sure that you're legit. And if you don't believe the exact same things, then they don't need to listen to you. Instead of being somebody who is full of curiosity and seeking to understand and wanting to listen and learn, especially in Christian circles, I have found that if you don't say the right words, and I think any of us we can all code switch if we're around a bunch of evangelicals. I think we all know the words to say to belong, but yeah, people, it's almost like a litmus test. And I feel like that a lot when I preach on Sundays. There are certain times where if I don't say, which I don't say, so I often don't say certain things that people expect a pastor to say on a Sunday.
Right.
And then people tend to either not come back or they'll really push into it. I don't know, did you actually talk about the gospel today or whatever it is? And it's that same question. Well, what do you mean by the gospel? When you say that, what do you even mean by it?
Did you meet your Jesus quota? Did you say Jesus enough times in this sermon today?
Did you close your eyes and raise your hand?
Yeah. I see that hand. I see that hand. I see that hand.
Meanwhile, no hands are going.
No hands.
Clear. No hands. It's just live.
I worked behind the curtain long enough to watch the pastor say, "I see that hand. I see that hand." There were no fucking hands. I'm like,
none.
Oh, you lying sack of shit. Or there was code for people who raised their hand every week. So when they were doing the tally at the back, we could, so there was somebody at the back counting how many salvations. Oh, we saved 17 people today. But it's such a performative thing, and that's one thing I don't miss. there's very little about it that I missed. My wife and I had this conversation. We've literally been out of church for about 2 years now. We planted a church about 3 years before that, and we tried. We gave it the old college try one more time. I'm like,
right, one more time.
I'm not sure I can do church, but the only way I can do church is if I can do it the way I think will work. And it was a fool's errand in West Texas to think that an openly affirming and basically, universalistic church would thrive. It did not. And also run by a guy who
surprising no one.
Yeah, surprising no one, not even me. But and run by a guy who never wanted and didn't ask for money. And so but we closed. But we were sitting around the other day going, well, what do you miss? And all the things that we would say that we miss, we found other places. I do miss, there's a handful of people I used to see routinely. I don't see as much anymore. I do miss them. Okay, fair. I don't miss all of the other trappings that came along with it, all of the anxiety and the performative stuff that that I had spent 40 something years of my life in. And all of a sudden that just sort of fell away. So a lot of my friends were like, well, how was it? Was it weird to not go to church that first Sunday? I'm like, no, it was fucking glorious. What are you talking about?
Right.
I slept in. I went to breakfast. I had a cocktail.
Yeah, right.
I did normal stuff. I mowed my lawn.
Go to drag brunch.
I love drag brunch. I actually went to my first drag show last year.
Oh, way to go.
Had a blast. And it was great. And saw people there I didn't think I'd see. And they didn't pretend to not know me.
Wow.
There was this look of, you? I'm like, you? I'm like, uh-huh. Oh, so we're not assholes. Amazing. And so it was actually the weirdest, almost religious experience to see, even in my little enclave of West Texas, super, super conservative Bible Belt, how many normal people were at that show and who were just having fun and having a good time. And the people who performed, I got tears in my eyes midway through, and I'm like, these are people who are probably used to being rejected, probably used to being threatened, probably used to being scared. And here they are not just being accepted, they're being celebrated. Like everyone is here. I don't know. I found a lot of freedom in that. And of course, then the pushback. But, fuck all this.
It's funny you say that. Like two of the earlier stops on this book tour have been, I have a faith community partner at all of them, and two of them have been churches that have drag worship.
Nice.
That multiple times a year. That is just beautiful. One of them actually has a T-shirt. To advertise their drag worship, they had an artist make a drag Jesus, with the Sacred Heart with the thorns around it in the middle. Of course,
that's awesome.
And it is. It is amazing. That church called Allendale United Methodist Church. You can look it up. You can find out drag Jesus. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I think I've heard of that. We've been trying like heck to get Flaming Grant to come hang out with us.
They did. The Flaming Grant performed at that church.
Yeah, well, we've reached out, and I think they'll come at some point. We need to resend that email, John. Obviously, when everything blew up, and all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, nominated for a Dove Award, which I just thought I was so happy and so it was like,
I can't. How is that possible?
It's so deliciously ironic. It shows, number one, that they're out of touch completely.
Right.
Hell, they tried to remember that song a couple years ago, "Take Me to Church"?
Yeah.
That was being played on Christian radio for about a minute. They played it because all they heard was the "Take Me to Church." I'm like, you have no idea what this song is. You need to, but by all means, keep playing it.
Lyrics. It's a great song.
It's a great song, but
also "Take Me to Church." That's the kind of church I'm interested in.
That's right. Oh man,
all night long.
All night long. All right, now you're gonna have me singing Lionel Richie songs the rest of the night.
For sure. How did Lionel Richie come up in this podcast?
How has Lionel Richie not come up more often is what I want to know. I mean, I don't even know. So the book, how to not suck as a Christian.
Yep.
I love the title. I love so is this a sort of a how-to? Or is it really more of an expose? Go ahead.
It's really a gift book.
Okay. I love it. So what am I implying if I give this to you?
It's exactly. You suck as a Christian.
But I care enough that I don't want you to anymore.
Well, for sure. It's a really fun book. I like you said in my intro, I suck as a Christian. That's really my expertise for writing the book. Every chapter I reveal something horrible about myself from some point in my past when I really sucked as a Christian. But, the chapters sort of speak for it. Take the Bible seriously, not literally. Be pro-choice because God is pro-choice. Know what the Bible actually says about hell, which is nothing. Stop getting people to sign purity pledges. Stop doing altar calls at camp. When I decided to do this book, I put it on TikTok and said, hey, I'm going to do this book. What are the chapters? Nice. And it was really interesting. I got about 100. I kept going, but I stopped at the 100. And it was really interesting to me was that, there were some snarky things, but a lot of the people were honestly wanting this book to come out because they really wanted people to do better.
Yeah.
Right. And, one of them is like, stop bothering atheists. They're really doing okay.
Yeah.
Right. And, we need to stop apologetics, that whole thing.
Oh, thank God. Yeah.
And that was part of it. It's like, we don't, and that's one of the things that I really love about it in the sense of, it's a sassy title, but it's honestly from this community that we have on TikTok an offering to people. And, we've had some wonderful stories, like young adult lesbian woman took a picture of it and said, hey, look, she and I work together. Like, I know the guy who wrote this book, and sent it to super conservative dad. And her dad said, I think I probably need to read that book.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so sent him a copy, and I don't know. I love it when people comment on my TikTok. Oh, they mostly comment and tell me I'm going to hell. But I love it when somebody's like, I don't agree with everything that you say, but this I actually do. Because I love it when I can find people who can actually think critically, and I don't just mean intelligently, I mean think critically about their own beliefs.
Yeah, for sure.
And be open enough to say, you know what, I think you're a complete heretic, but this we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's awesome that out of the, even some level of snark, and sometimes that's what it takes to dislodge us a little bit. Like, let's see something in more stark terms. But I suggest you could write a companion book next year and pose as an evangelical and write a book called How to Be an Awesome Christian and just use the same chapters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could do like the Stephen
on
Colbert.
apologetics.
Yeah, for sure. Good Lord, that. I'm actually working on a book about how to talk about faith to yourself and to other people, based on the stuff that I've been doing on TikTok, not on the content, but on the interactions that I've been having, because I get thousands of comments every week.
Yeah, for sure.
Between 200,000 and 1 million plus views a week. But what that means is that I have so many interactions, or at least the opportunity for so many interactions, and trying to tease out like what has worked, like why have people responded that way, and like beginning to understand, okay, so like this is whatever my dumbass, like talking out of my ass skeptic pastor shit, like these are the things that like we're helping people, like, and when I respond, the responses that work, like this is why, because I think it's two sides of the same coin. I think it's the way we talk to our faith to other people is also the way we need to think about talking about our faith to ourselves, right? As we're figuring out our beliefs. And yeah, it's really the same thing. And I think a lot of times the same kinds of things that make it horrifying to when people talk to other people about their faith. Really, the problem is that they've been talking to themselves like that.
Yeah. Well, and for a lot of us, we're just repeating our own indoctrination, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And
for sure.
it's one of those things that I'm finding out the older I get. I know John and I have talked about this a bunch, but it's amazing how deep that stuff is, because it comes out of you at the most inopportune, like,
oh yeah,
you know, it's like, well, where the hell did that come from? I haven't been an evangelical Christian in a long time, but
yeah.
But guess what? Everywhere you go, there you are. And sometimes those responses still come out.
I think it's also great because the way that you have put your book together is an invitation for self-reflection for yourself, that like you're doing the self-reflection of how I've sucked as a Christian, and it allows the reader to then be like, oh, that's very similar to the way that I've responded here, there, or another. So it's very invitational, sounds like, at least.
Thanks. I hope so. There's a lot of stuff in there that it was kind of hard to write because it's embarrassing, but you know, especially when you are a flaming liberal, to be like, no, I left a church because they believed that homosexuality wasn't a sin, or no, whatever. They were. I left. They were not. They were splitting over the affirming issue. They weren't landing conservative enough for me.
Yeah.
Like the conservative split was not conservative enough.
Nice.
So I left because I suck as a Christian.
Right. I left the church over us hiring a female pastor.
Yeah. Oh God.
I was like, I mean, I'm still on the fence about that, actually, if I'm being honest.
Oh my God.
Rightfully so.
I mean, it's fair. It is one of the great joys in my life to needle Bethany here and there, and just this very sort of sibling thing going on. You remind me of my sister an awful lot, actually.
I swore I would never go to a church with a female pastor either, and I said I'm not against it necessarily, but I would never attend one. And then,
so you're not against it, but you're against it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not against it. I just would never support it. You're like,
I guess it's fine for some people, but. I mean, really.
But they're all going to hell.
They're all so emotional, these women. I mean, how can you
trust them to lead? No way.
I have to go.
Yeah, it's going to it turned into that kind of podcast. My wife and I had this really weird experience where we were going to this church and being groomed for leadership, because that's what they always did to us, which is they were grooming us, all right? And then it was a husband and wife. And then about 2 years into our attending church, she started to slowly transition into being the lead pastor. And he just kind of started, she would guest speak. And that was like, my wife and I were like, yes, that's okay. And then at some point they just switched places and we're like, oh no, now we're out. I mean, I can listen to her preach, but I can't like sit under her leadership. But that's that thing, right? It's like from day one, if you're a pedigreed, dyed-in-the-wool evangelical like I was, I mean, it took years to even realize that you had been indoctrinated into a way of thinking that was not mainstream, really, because really outside of evangelical spaces, Christianity is, I mean, okay, fine, with the woman thing, maybe more universal than we'd like to admit. But there are a lot of things that we preached, in our churches that I've come to find out later are very, very marginal. Most mainstream churches don't preach about the rapture at all. And we obsessed over it. I mean, there were timelines and predictions and, anyway, so it's an odd thing. But I tell you what, I'm so appreciative that you've written this book. I think it's amazing. I wish you obviously the best of luck on your book tour, and I hope you sell a lot of books and you raise a lot of money for the Trevor Project and for yourself. I hope you get, fabulously wealthy from this as well.
That's what happens when people write very niche religious books.
That's right. It's worked for you.
So rich.
Fabulously well.
John and I, it's worked for us, right? I mean,
oh yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I have gotten royalties that were in the tens of dollars, man.
I literally got a royalty check from a book I wrote like a month ago that was 15 cents. And I was like, it costs you more to print this and mail this check.
Yeah. I get the occasional notice from my publisher that says you didn't meet the threshold for.
Oh yeah, no, that's all the other publishers.
Royalty payment yet. We'll let you know when you hit the $10 mark or something. I'm like, son of a bitch. So obviously we do the work because we love it. But man, like I said, we appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wish you the best of luck on the tour. Hope you have a great time, and you're invited to many, many places, and you can show us all how to not suck as Christians.
I don't have an invite to your town yet, so
you don't, and I will. I will spare you. I love my town, but man, God, we're a backwards ass conservative place sometimes.
Just imagine the poster. How to not suck as a Christian. We can do it like in the parking lot across from the mega church.
There you go.
Ooh. All right. I do own a coffee shop. My wife and I, when we planted our church, so we opened this space and then we converted it into a coffee shop / church for a couple of years.
Oh, that's cool.
And then we just decided that we slowly phased the church part out because that was draining our bank accounts. We're like, we got to make a living, but we still have the space. We've had a few people out and done some stuff. And so maybe it's time to do it again. Yeah, we'll test the water. We'll see how it goes. All right. But John, Bethany, any parting shots for you guys?
Just thank you for taking the time and coming and having a conversation with us. This has been great.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeremy. This is awesome.
Don't forget, plug the podcast one more time.
Unbelief Podcast.
There we go.
Just search unbelief and that it comes up.
Do it. Do it now. Thank us later. You'll be better for it.
Nice.
Thank you for listening to This Is Not Church. Be sure to rate and review the podcast on your platform of choice. If you would like to partner with us, visit patreon.com/thisisnotchurch, where you will receive exclusive content such as early access to episodes, videos of upcoming episodes, and live Q&A sessions. Be sure to check out our Facebook group or follow us on Twitter and Instagram. All the links are in the show notes. We'll be back soon with another episode.